Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now.
That's right.
Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You are at my spot. You are at the favorite place, the best podcast on the planet, where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. We're in my neck of the woods here in Southern California. We are going to be talking to Gloria Haswell. She is a visionary trailblazer in the smart life planning, personal development, and metaphysical science. Metaphysical science, ideology, quantum physics are all the rave right now because people are, I wouldn't say moving away from the religious texts and doctrine, but they are incorporating more of the universal energy laws in their practices because we are transcending as a civilization. And you can snark if you want to or not believe it, but let me tell you, when you get beamed up like Scotty, you're going to say, that April told me that. It's about energy. It's about a frequency. It's not just about what we have read for thousands of years or what has been interpreted or maybe misconstrued by the pastor, the priest, the rabbi, your parents, your grandparents. We're in a whole different scene now. So we're going to talk to Gloria about that and the work that she does and a whole lot more. How you doing, Gloria?
Hi, it's so lovely to be here. I would so miss talking to you.
I know this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. I want you to also, when I first introduced myself to you, you said, well, people don't understand what I do. And I had to, correct you on that because there's a lot more people, way more people understanding what you do, wanting to do what you do and get in line with it than ever before because they realize that we are in this technology stage. We are artificial intelligence. They're using drones. Just everything is changing and it's going so fast. We are going at the speed of light and frequency. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do and how you found yourself in this space on the planet.
It's interesting that you bring up that point about that comment that I made, and that is something that has been adopted by me just over the years because I literally started in 1969.
Wow.
And when people would ask me questions throughout the years, their eyes would glaze over, and so it's like if you're ahead of the wave, the crest of that surf that is coming in, oftentimes you are still seeing what's coming at you versus seeing the trends. And I have noticed there's a lot more interest, it's like all of this transition that people, the flywheel of momentum that has been brewing and growing, it started so long ago. And it really is very gratifying when I talk to people now and I don't get the eyes glazing over, and people want to know because they're becoming more aware. And so it's really exciting that that's happening. So
That's like you said, wave, ocean. You never turn your back to the ocean.
you never do. That was the first thing that I was taught.
Right. And also, when you were speaking of this, they were thinking of it maybe more of psychedelics, hippy dippy, just it wasn't new age. New age didn't come into play until late 80s, 90s. So
Right.
it was an awareness, but
Right.
it was convoluted by everything that was going on in the world. A lot of war,
Mhm.
a lot of civil unrest. So it's the distraction, Gloria. And that's what I want you to focus on, brains. Pay attention in this interview because that is what people want you to be is distracted. If
Right.
you are distracted, you can't focus. I tell people all the time, if you are cutting some carrots and you're not paying attention and look away, baby, you cutting off a finger.
Right.
You need to stay focused and in alignment.
And that's exactly right. It is about awareness. The idea that you do see it now. It was something that wasn't so prevalent because, as you say, it was tied into different eras and what was going on then. And so I'm really gratified because so many people, they have the brains. I saw advertising one time where it said that people have more power than they think.
Oh, sure.
And yet, to take that literally from an advertising place, it was, if you were to change that and recognize that people don't think, because, and it's not because they don't want to, it's not because they don't know how to, it's because it's part of a culture that's been passed forward. What your grandmother did, your mother did, what your mother did, you did. And once you
They're,
become aware and you start seeing things, then you can start doing it, and people are beginning to do that now. It's very
well,
nice.
they're going along, Gloria, to get along. That's
Right.
that's what that is. They have
Yeah.
turned into these mechanical animals. I've told many people this, that the truth is not the truth anymore. The truth is your perception. You
And I
want
was
so hard to, you work so hard to be right,
mm,
to be a part of this, this glee club, either yay or nay. There's no gray anymore.
right. And it's always about human competition as well. If you're on the road and you're driving, everybody wants to be in front before they change lanes. Nobody thinks to slow down, back up, and let somebody pass you in order to be able to move over smoothly. Being on the road and driving is like a dance.
Hmm.
It's a give and take thing. And there's so much less stress when you make it into a ballet. It's just so much easier.
I think so too. So tell my brains a little bit about you, and the work that you're doing.
Well, I was thinking about this over a period of time, and a lot of people begin their story with, I grew up and I walked through snow up the hill for 15 miles in the snow just to go get a snow cone. And yet, other books that begin their story, they talk in the middle and they start from the beginning and then kind of do the backfill. And I do want to share with all of your audience that the reason that I'm here and the time is now is to let people know that you are loved by God, by Source, as no other individual has been loved, even the person next to you, and they in the same, because each of us are unique and we are each special to God and Source, and the potentials that are within us are unimagined yet. That when you tap into one, you tap into another. So, that was what I was told that I was here to tell everyone, is that you are loved by Source, by God. And I change up from God because, as you know about something, you learn something more. And so God is a word that has been assigned by humankind in an effort to have an identification associated. And so that's why you will often hear me refer to God as Source, because Source is all. And so when I started having my perceptions when I was about 9 years old. And I found myself coaching adults on relationships and how to stay together. And it was interesting because, I'd had such a wonderful childhood, and I grew up playing in the woods, fishing with my grandfather. We had huge amounts of family, aunts, uncles, cousins, great grandparents, grandparents. We'd get together for Sunday dinners on a regular basis. And there was a moment in time where my life became so disrupted and it just kept going. I actually saw my father come in and he sat down on the couch and began to cry. And it turns out that he had physically hit my mother. And the life that I had known just very quickly, rapidly disappeared. And it lasted for like 10 years and it just grew in intensity. And then I started recognizing that I would feel other, but yeah, I didn't understand. See, and a lot of this is going along with people and the awareness and what they see and know and can feel, because until you know the color purple, you don't know what to look for with purple. And so I didn't know at that age, nor did I have anyone around me to be able to talk to. I'd never heard about it, was about the psychic clairaudiences and clairsentience and all of those different sensitivities. All I knew is that I would be around people that they looked so happy. They were having parties, they were having weddings, they were in celebration. Everybody was laughing. And yet I'd come in and I was feeling great when I got there, but suddenly I just felt so physically, emotionally sad. I had to leave the room and I didn't know what it was. And it took me years to realize that the pain that I was feeling was not mine. The pain that I was feeling was coming from all of the people around me. And at that point, I had to start separating myself until I could figure out how to protect myself and create a barrier so that I didn't get that. And it took some time, but it really,
you were very empathic, and you started empathic.
I did. Yeah. And so, beginning at 9 and up until I was 19, I mean, who could I talk to? It was immediate family. And so nobody in that realm ever talked about it or shared anything. And I never read anything about it. But I always knew that there was some sort of a magic. I had read an article about monks being in a blizzard in the Himalayas and how they um, had found shelter in a cave. And after a week of being there completely void of having food or access to anything, and they emerged unscathed. And I thought, there is something here. There is something to this. And then, it is interesting because I did read the Count of Monte Cristo about that time, and they had an area in that story where the main protagonist had learned meditation from a monk that he had been incarcerated with, and he was able to lower his heart rate to such a level that the people that were after him thought he was dead. He could come back. And I thought, the power of the mind, the ability to be able to control your physiology. And I was so fascinated. And I went to, this is before they had online, and so you still had bookstores. You could
Wow.
you could go in and you could peruse the books. And so I went in and I told the person that worked there that I wanted to find a book that told me what different areas of the brain did. And instead, the only book that they had close to it was actually addressing the cognitive skill sets. And so I embarked on this learning journey, and I started reading about how people perceive things. Then they presented the picture in the book of the old lady and the young lady, where you could look at it. It's the same picture, but depending on how you look at something, depends on what you see. And so that really has shaped a lot of the work that I do for myself and for others, because you can have something that can be considered a bad thing if you look at it one way. But when you look at the other side of the coin, you can find the benefit. And so when you have that connection, it's not so much about a cost as it is about learning. I've had COVID 3 times now, and each time I get physically better when I'm said and done, and so I deal with it like having a very extreme cold, and I make sure that I take care of what needs to be taken care of. If I know that I'm still not hungry, this last one was the one where things tasted like metal, and I didn't eat technically for like 10 days. And so I knew that my body needed it. And I started with some instant potatoes and some water and some rice that was kind of overcooked, and used it as something for my body to use as an energy source towards the end of it. And that is when the recovery part of that period was going on. So it's amazing what you can do when you remember the tools that you have, the knowledge that you have, and you integrate it into yourself and into assisting others.
But that's a big ask, Gloria.
Mm.
People don't know their ass from a hole in the ground right now. They don't know which way is up. They don't have empathy for one another. They are in fear. They are distracted. So to ask people to really do the deep dive and what you and I consider second nature is a whole undertaking
Right.
for individuals. Where do they begin?
Well, remembering your foundations, being able, the brain, you have a stress factor and it affects your amygdala in the beginning. And so what occurs is that you go into a flight or fight type of situation. And so once you take a breath, and that's how I started. You have to take a breath. You have to remember to become aware. You have to assess your surroundings. It's like doing reconnaissance. Where am I? Where do I want to go? What do I need to do to get there? And so looking at, once you get beyond that point of being in the moment, whether it's having a cold, whether it's having hit your foot on something and stubbed your toe, taking that moment, you experience the pain, but making a conscious effort, and it's a habit that you can develop where each time it will become a shorter period of interval whereby you go from the pain to going to a place where you go, oh, what can I do? And so
Right.
it,
Or what's going to happen? It's that what if. And that's
exactly.
another thing. I tell people all the time, don't overthink it. Your frontal lobe is already programmed with all of this data that is replaying over and over and over again, thousands of times a day, the same messaging. What we have to do is we have to go deeper, go to the subconscious mind and pull up new information, new ideas, because the subconscious mind doesn't know if it's reality or not. It's, again, your perception. If I told you a million times that shirt that you had on was black, eventually you would see black.
Yes.
It's about the programming.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be clear of that. It's brainwashing. You're brainwashed all the time. All the time. When I look at television, now, good Lord knows I'm trying to be on a weight management program, and every commercial comes on is some food.
Right.
Looking delicious, knowing when I go and get that fast food, it's not going to be that good. It's going to be processed, mystery meat. When you are looking to buy a car, perfect example. I went to buy a car. I wasn't going to get a Mercedes. I drive around. I get in the car. I get in with the salesperson. He pulls the roof back, turns on my favorite jazz station, turns on that seat cooler, tells me how my afro looks beautiful blowing in the wind. He sold me. Everything is a sales job. But what you have to understand is what is value, selling to value, because there are things that are valuable. But understanding the difference, and everything is so convoluted now. So for us to stay focused, give us some suggestions.
Well, one of the things that I had learned was that, and I wasn't aware of this, but the human brain, from a psychological level, if you hear something that is told to you that is a lie, after a certain number of times, it becomes accepted as truth.
Yes. Yes.
And so
Turn
holding
on,
your
turn on the news. That's what I said. Turn on the news. You'll see it right in front of your face.
right. And you mentioned about things that you see on I think you did about things that are on television.
Yeah.
And one of my moments that was very sad was when I started seeing all of the advertisements from the pharmaceutical companies, because all of a sudden people are being programmed that they should take this, they should take that. And I recognize, I mean, God gave us a mind to create things. And so there are so many medicines and so many things that are valuable and of use. So please understand, I am not adverse to that. I just saw that with the repetition, with everything that they were doing, that there was a programming that was going on. And so knowing about something, whether it be from a pharmaceutical or an herbal, things are put on this planet to support our health and well-being. Our bodies want to be well. And so recognizing that pain is something that indicates to you that something is wrong, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, even from a soul level, that the body doesn't want that pain, but yet that pain is there for a reason. And so by being able to remove the pain or the things that is causing the pain, then the body can go into flow and begin to heal itself. And so you use what is there and the tools that are available that you know of at that moment in time. And then there's a blend of things that support you and just not accepting what everybody says.
There are still loving, kind people like you, Gloria, that give your life to say, hey, you know what? Let me separate the wheat from the straw. Let me figure out, let me find that needle in the haystack. There are a lot of good people like me. I consider myself, that's why I call my company a good person production. I aspire and work at being a good person. That takes work. It's not effortless. I have to think and rethink before I speak. I have to accept responsibility for my actions. When people say things, ownership. I was telling somebody, I was at work once and my boss was lighting into me, and rightfully so. I had messed up. But the first thing I did was take ownership. I apologized. I made a big mistake. And if there's some coaching or if there's something else that you'd like me to do moving forward, I'm open to that. It deflated it. I mean, she was ready to go, honey. She wanted to talk 30 minutes. Girl, I gave her 5 and surrender.
Right.
Throw up your hands and surrender. Surrender doesn't mean give up. Surrender means relax, slow down, process, reassess, evaluate. Because there's a lot going on, other moving parts outside of what we see for the greater good. Right, Gloria?
It's very true. It's very true. And, one of the things that I adopted a long time ago is if you're going to be a leader and you are in a group as a team and you are a follower, you support the follower as you know that you need to lead. Because when you support other people that you're assisting, you are raising them up.
That's right.
And because you're part of the team, you're going with them and you're pulling all of those people behind you. I had a friend one time as part of my learning journey where we were having a conversation, and she said, do you know why they do not put a lid on a crab pot? And I thought, never even thought about it, that a crab pot existed, let alone that it had a lid, and well, no, I didn't know. And she said, humanity is like being in a crab pot. She said, because when one crab starts to climb out of the open basket, other crabs reach up and pull it back in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so the trick is to raise everyone with you. And that could be supporting, it could be leading. But as long as you adopt and adapt to creating that as a reality for everyone, then we all cross the finish line together.
And supporting people's ego. Ego has always had a bad connotation, but what you have to understand, brains, is your ego is the gateway to the soul. That's the portal right there. And the ego is not negative. You have to feed it, you have to support it, you have to nurture it, you have to position it, and you have to make it conducive for others. You don't have to be a nasty person, but if there's somebody, like Gloria said, if there is somebody in a group setting and you know that they're a little bit more docile, give them an opportunity to speak up, encourage them. Maybe you have somebody like my boss that just loves to go. Okay, give her 5 minutes of glory. That's fine. If there's someone that wants to learn, Give them challenges, give them opportunities. You never know what somebody has been through or what they're going through or what they're about to take you on a journey through. They always say, don't judge a book by its cover. And I am really good at that now. I'll look and say, I'll go somewhere sometimes and I'll look at people and I'll look at how they're dressed in a certain situation. Or I was at a big networking event and I saw some people look like the catch drug of me and Gloria. They just look so, I'm like, you ain't here to network and make no money. And come to find out, I sat there, kept my mouth shut and watched. They were the facilitators. They were the people running the meeting. They were the people with the big money. They were the people running the show. So it's a difference between a rich person and a wealthy person. You really can't tell. Rich is, they big earners. Wealthy is rich in spirit. You have options, you have choices. You are able to navigate, you are able to negotiate. That's what we want to do in this world now. That is where the leverage is understanding or trying to understand. And if you come up short, be honest. You don't have to let everybody know that you got a V on your neck for vulnerable. I mean, on your forehead for being vulnerable, but it's okay. There's no disrespect to that. Being ignorant only means not knowing until you get the information. But the information is not powerful until you apply it, right?
Yes. And it's interesting that you brought up about how people appear. Um, I was in a grocery store and the first time that this happened, and there was someone in front of me in line, and they looked they looked like they were homeless in the condition of the dirt and the filth and everything that was on them. But I happened to notice that the clothing looked like it was brand new.
Mm.
And then the person turned around, and this woman's face had like it was like somebody had taken $50 that were hot and literally branded her face
Oh,
with all of these marks. And I remember asking, this was an amazing first experience because my support group, my esoteric support group, I always referred to them as others because I didn't remember all the names. And so I was standing there, and in a place of not thinking, I said, I wonder how others see them. My right eye and my left eye started seeing two different pictures.
wow.
My left eye could see the physical form. My right eye saw her soul. It was gold and it was glowing. The light, it was like a glimmering, shimmering. It was just so incredibly beautiful. If that light had left the human form, it would have been blinding. And my body was busy processing, and my heart was feeling the joy and the love that came from this light. And it was just such an incredible yet very conflicting experience. And that experience will go with me forever because what you see is not who you see.
Right. Absolutely. Because you can tell that now. People say, believe, didn't you see it with your own eyes? Right. But again, as people start to process it, they start to dilute it. I know I was a member on a jury trial and couldn't come to a consensus. And I said, in April, you're a wordsmith, you're an orator. Let's get this done. I went to each potential or each juror and said, okay, what does this particular word mean to you? I came up with 12 different answers.
Mhm.
We came to a consensus because everybody had a different opinion and idea on what impaired was.
Mhm.
I didn't say drunk. I didn't say loaded. I didn't say passed out. I said impaired. What does that mean? So people have different interpretations of what that is. I'm just hoping that what they do is they take fact-based information. That's why I'm a person of pros and cons. I cannot make an informed decision unless I hear both sides. I may not want to hear the opposing side, but I'm doing myself a disservice if I don't listen to it because I don't have clear information. You might be able to sway my opinion. There may be things that I have never thought about. There may be things that I need to incorporate. Sometimes I need to adjust my position. I'm not always right. Who would have ever thought? No, just kidding. I'm not. But, and again, accept the responsibility for your stuff. Yes, I did it. Yes, I said it. Yes, I was wrong. Yes, I need to improve. Um, yes, I can get better at that because we all can. You're on this planet for two reasons. One is to learn, and the other one is to teach. That's it.
Oh, I would love to interject here.
Go ahead.
The the perception that people have based upon our educational system, we start in first grade or in grade school, and then we work our way up in the knowledge and the things that we learn. And each time, and this is for the US because that's really all I know as far as educational systems, we go from 1 to 12 and then 12 and on, and you get to masters. And each time the number increases with the level of challenge.
Right.
And yet we are in the third dimension. And most everyone using that system that they know, they think that the third is the lowest. Well, in fact, the numbers are reversed from a learning standpoint because living on this planet in this vibratory range and having emotions, this is such a huge school because most beings have not used emotions in a long time. And so our challenge in the third dimension is actually we are in a graduating class.
Mm-hmm.
This is the masters of courses. And so what we are experiencing, it's not so much about escaping from it, it's about graduating from it. It's about finding the lessons, learning the lessons, growing with the lessons, and then sharing that awareness with other people. So, and then supporting them because this is a freaking hard place to be able to navigate in because we don't know and we don't have people to tell us for the most part what we don't know. And you can't know what you don't know until you're aware of it. And that takes to make the pause, to take that breath, and to look around you and reassess and interpret, as you're saying with those words, because we all interpret things differently based on our experiences. And then we have knee-jerk reactions instead of pausing and recognizing that it's all about interpretation. And the only word I have is regurgitation as far as what we get back. And we perceive on subliminal levels, body language, nuances, delivery, cadence, all of these different things. The use of our eyes creates the opportunity for misconstruing something.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Artificial intelligence,
yeah,
and I've got some friends that are working on the emotion part of artificial intelligence. So once they're able to capture that, just thinking and the human interaction is diluting every second, every minute.
and it doesn't carry the heart.
No. And the thing is, as you said, we're graduating, but we are graduating to ascend, to go higher to the next level. Do you think SpaceX is just doing it just to be doing it? There's a whole nother galaxy, millions of galaxies out there. We are not the only civilization. If you think that, you better think again. I don't know why we are the chosen ones. Our capacity and our mental capacity and our expansion is so small that we really don't even realize how vast the universe and the cosmos and what there is yet to learn. But we have to take our time because this is new to us. As you said, as you go to school, you put kids in school and you put them all in the third grade and you expect for them to all pass the same test, learn at the same time, learn, speak the same way, read the same way. Everyone's an individual. You dilute their creativity. It is a disadvantage because you may have a brilliant musician in there, you may have a mathematician, You may have a great plumber in that classroom, but if you do not allow them to be individuals and explore that, you dilute it. So, parents, look at your kids as an individual. I'm seeing so many children now with autism and ADHD. I'm gonna tell you what I think. I think that that's a different learning. They learn differently, not a different species, not a different class, not a special. We don't know how to adapt to that. We don't know how to train that. I've never seen every fourth child or every fifth child diagnosed with one of these letters. It was never that way before. What is it that's going on in the world, in the air, in the water, in the food that is making us change? And that's where it is. It goes down to the basic common denominator. Where is it? How do we edit, filter? How do we shift? And I'm so glad that there's people out there like you, Gloria, that have really learned to encapsulate this and help us break out of this shell, because there's a problem. It's a big problem right now. People don't want to do it. They want to be distracted. They want to be angry. They want to be controversial. They want to be right. Sometimes I want to be wrong. Oh, I can't believe that that's true. I was wrong about that because I've learned something. I've learned something. But what I'd like to do is learn a little bit more about you. How about that?
Well, when you were talking about perception of children and so many people, same family, I mean, brothers, sisters, parents, everyone thinks differently and their brain processes differently. It takes different paths. They have different things for like people who have experienced PTSD, and they look at the brain patterning and how the different experiences have affected them and their trauma situations. And they look at the mind mapping as to where it goes from what neural connection to another neural connection, so that they can find what happens and when, where the triggers are and how to release it. And just people who haven't experienced that, you've got people who speak more slowly. There are oftentimes I have to catch myself. I can think of 5 things and see them to fruition in the future, and yet I'm still in 3D time. And I still have to physically do stuff. And so the way that my brain thinks is different than the people that I'm talking to. And I have to pause, because when I think they're done talking, they're still thinking and they have more to say. And so if I step in, I'm interrupting them. And it's one of those things. It's challenging for me, it's challenging for them. But if we all realize it, then we can make allowances and create that dance, like I was talking about. And you were talking about where you give and you take, and it's not about lose it. Surrender is not about losing.
Nope.
It's about having a waltz and
Yes.
allowing your partner time to catch up with the steps, because your feet can only move so fast.
And it gives you a time to take a breath.
Yes.
And breath is our very first gift.
Yes.
The first thing when you come out of the birth canal is they want to make sure that you're breathing. And then when you transition, what do they say? And this is the time they took their last breath.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing in between time?
Right.
So let's take a breather on this. Let me ask you some fun questions. How about that?
Okay.
If you were an appliance in the kitchen, this is my favorite question.
What
appliance would you be, Miss Gloria?
Oh, I love that question. It brings to mind that cartoon where all the appliances come to life.
Mm.
And what I would be versus what I am, I would be a slow cooker.
Ooh, okay. A pressure cooker or a crock pot?
Crock pot.
Crock pot. Okay.
Crock
All
pot.
right. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Today, I change. Today, I'm the dishwasher.
Yeah.
I want you to load me up, make it hot, make it steamy, and you come out clean. Okay. That's what I want to be today. Is I want to be somebody's dishwasher. Okay.
Yeah.
If
What I have, What I am is the blender.
A
And I'm
lot,
on,
I get a lot of people that want to be the blender, that want to mix it up and stir
yep,
it up. But sometimes it's good to be a sifter too. To
I'm on frappe.
You're funny. You're funny. If you, what's the last book you read?
Oh, actually, I was reading yesterday. I'm almost towards the end. It's called Mahatma 1 and 2.
Hmm. What's it about?
It was written by Brian Grattan, and it's information that is related to the ascension process. And one of the things that I noticed this book is the material and things they talk about stuff that happened like in 1992 or the year that the rays came in or the different things happened. And whether you were here or not, it's important to know because one, if you haven't experienced it, you can then go in and do the work. And it's relative because it ties into the process. It's like reading the history of the country that you live in. And so knowing what came and what's there is knowing what's available and what you can look for and use now.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, I tell people all the time, it's like the stock market, you know, past performance is no indicator of future results. And you have to look at that and say, hey, okay, this happened then. It will give you the data, but it's just like mind shift. It's just like neuro linguistic programming. It's just like ascension. You can get to a certain point and rewrite it, reframe it, look at
Mhm.
it a different way. I was
Yeah.
talking to my mentor and she said to me, I told her, I said, doggone it, I don't want to go through this again. And she said, well, if you go through it again, it's a choice. She says, number one, you didn't learn the lesson the first time. She said, and the second time, you have data to go back and see what went wrong. Why are you at this place again? Why are you going through this again? And what are you going to do differently?
Mhm.
I came out with a different result.
Right.
Absolutely. If you could time travel, go to the past, stay here in the present, project to the future, where would you land?
Well, I exist in all dimensions. Time is a loop. If you look at Einstein's information and you look at all of the different things that are out there and you put them all together, we actually live. You remember ribbon candy?
Yes.
So we live in time that is shaped like ribbon candy. And each timeline is one of those parts of the ribbon. And by existing in multiple realities, it takes us to a different point where we can actually influence our other selves in other timelines. So I was and support. I look at it as a support process. And there was a point in time where I was so drawn to learning how to do watercolor painting. I had never done it, and it was like I had to go do it.
Well, I did it and it was a mess.
I love it.
Watercolor is a challenge.
It is. And it was so fun to experiment and to learn and to grow. And I realized that, when we are at that point where it's like we have to do something, there's always a reason. At one point, I had started learning, I just felt compelled to learn how to type faster. And within about a month of having achieved faster, as I defined it, I started channeling. And so I started typing all of the things that I was channeling.
Mm.
So there's always a reason. So when I started doing the painting, I was looking for the reason. And I realized that one other creative part of my existence is as an artist or a painter. And maybe they were going through a block and they needed my support to be able to move forward on their side. So knowing that you can influence yourself with that, I know that that can be a stretch for someone who hasn't looked into this as far as believing that. So it's okay to know that. So if I were to influence myself to be in another timeline, I am particularly drawn to having had experiences that are early Asian and Native American. And
And in
yes,
closing, can you tell my brains a little bit about what they have to look for when they work with you and how to get in contact with you, Gloria?
well, when working with me, I prefer working with people who are ready to be actively involved because I am not, I mean, I can work for healing, but I am not what you would typically call a healer because I educate people as well on how to work with themselves.
Right.
Because once you leave, it's that concept of you can give somebody a fish or you can teach them to fish.
Correct.
So I, it's about creating a freedom. People that have been enslaved physically, even if they're removed, they're still mentally enslaved. They're still emotionally enslaved. We get enslaved by memory pegs. People that say something to you and we take it to heart and it gets stuck in there. And so understanding the things that you can do and knowing that there are tools out there is about empowerment. It's about removing people from that mental and emotional slavery that we are often in more than not. And it's a slavery to the words of others, to perceptions and things that they have made comment on that we take to heart because we are emotionally open and receptive to hearing it. And it's not always what we hear that's good for us. And it doesn't lead to our success. And especially with interpretation, as you were saying, people interpret different words different ways. And so the way they mean it is not maybe how you took it. And
Absolutely.
so creating the freedom so that when people know that they have tools and they understand how it works, working with somebody that I worked with a couple of people that had MS that were unable to drive. And through understanding their own brain, seeing the triggers, being able to remove that pain so that the body could heal. Bell's palsy, a woman couldn't eat in public because she couldn't hold food in her mouth. And she was so amazed. She goes, the muscles in my face are working. She goes, I can eat in public. I can walk down the hall without walking into the wall. And, it was like the other person, I worked with them so they could understand the energy and how love looks and feels and how they can access the emotion as a tangible where the body will recognize it. And they were able to identify before they had an exacerbation where the body starts to just vibrate so quickly and they had no control to a place where they could understand that not only could they control it, but by intercepting it, they could stop it from happening.
Mm. And so that's
And
the great work that you're doing with individuals in your program. And that's incredible work
yeah,
because they're able to again rely on their own self and
mhm,
pull back on those tools. How can
right.
my brains get in contact with you to work with you and get additional information?
Well, at the moment, there's two ways. I have an app that's just being launched. It's open and available on the Apple Store. It's called Smart People Unlimited. And then the email address, if you wanted to email me, it's all one word, is smartpeopleunlimited@gmail.com. And I'm open to individuals, I'm open to groups, and I'm going to be launching a course that I'm starting with the basics because everyone needs to begin from the beginning. And most everyone is experiencing stress, whether it's a positive or a negative. So understanding about different ways, whether it be traditional medicine or holistic, um, looking at the tools that you have available. And the course is called Success Over Stress. So I'll be offering that soon. I'm still working on the dates.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, Brains. I want you to go in. I want you to just peruse the information that Gloria has provided to us. Google her. Um, do the research. Don't take our word as the gospel
Right.
because it's different for everybody. You may
Mhm.
have a different experience. You're going to come with a different subset of circumstances, challenges, life's experiences. And so we're going to have to be able to navigate, mold, and mentor those things to make you the best possible person that you can be for you, not for me, but for Source. Thank you so much for being here on the edge. You are the best. Brains, I told her I'm going to take her out for ice cream. She said, no, not ice cream. She wants gelato. And we'll continue the conversation. We'll do a little brief impromptu conversation there as we go. So look forward to that. I want you to love, like, share, and become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. Those numbers are looking great because they're organic. I'm not into groupie love. You know, I don't need a bunch of clickbait. I want you to engage. I want you to interact. I want you to learn. I want you to ascend. So thank you so much for being here with me on the edge, Gloria, and I will see you for gelato soon.
Thank you, Brains. Thank you, April. And I look forward to the sweet flavor.
Talk to you again, Brains. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.